So to explain this, I first need you to understand the relationship between the pelvic floor and the bladder. The pelvic floor lives at the bottom of the pelvis. It's a group of muscles. The bladder is supported by the pelvic floor and lives in the pelvis. So the pelvic floor is helping to act like a clamp to make sure that the pee stays in the bladder when we don't want it to come out. When we do things like cough, sneeze, sit up, jump, those are all things that the pelvic floor needs to respond with tension so that pee's not dribbling out. So if you have a problem with leaking before you're even pregnant, it's a sign the pelvic floor is not as efficient as it should be. There are many things that change in our body during pregnancy and that will affect the pelvic floor. One of the main ones is all of the pressure that now is going down through those muscles. And remember, they respond to things going on around them. So all of this extra pressure kind of makes them have to work harder, right? Another one is that we start to have a lot of laxity in our pelvis during pregnancy. It's a good thing because we need to make space for a growing uterus and for the ability to deliver a baby out of the pelvis. But that is another thing that will make the pelvic floor have to be on guard a little bit more. It's working harder to help stabilize everything. So you've got a pelvic floor that is having to turn up the crank a little bit during pregnancy to help manage everything that's going around it. Then you still have to stop the clamp, or you put a stopper on the clamp every time you cough or sneeze. So it's almost like the pelvic floor is at a bit of a disadvantage. It's already working harder than it's used to. Then when you put a stress on it, it's really common to leak during pregnancy. Just like every other muscle, it can get tired too. So you might notice that it's after you have several sneezes that you leak, or several coughs, or you have a cold that all of a sudden your pelvic floor doesn't seem to be working anymore. Maybe now all of a sudden when you have a full bladder, you don't feel like you can hold it anymore, or maybe you leak more at the end of the day. All things that would suggest that your pelvic floor is just like, oh, I'm so tired. And then you add something else to it and it's like, oh, I can't do it anymore. What can you actually do about it? Number one, I say don't lose sleep over it. This is something that is a symptom of pregnancy. When you look at how hard the pelvic floor has to work to accommodate all the changes, it's just trying to support you and be there for you, and it's just getting tired. Kind of like you have ankle swelling during pregnancy. To me, it's just another symptom. Two, don't just wait though until the damage is done before you do something about it. It's kind of like, would you wait until your kids are teenagers before you start disciplining them? No, it doesn't really work that way. If you just wait until the damage is done, then I would say that maybe you won't get the same handle on it postpartum. That was not number three. Number three, I say you start to learn and make yourself familiar and comfortable with your pelvic floor before your baby comes, because that is where I will start every single client postpartum, is learn what it feels like to tighten your pelvic floor, relax your pelvic floor, and help to understand how to help those muscles along, because learning about it before is going to really help not have those bad behaving teenagers later. How can you do that? We're a little bit limited right now in the world with getting out to see someone. One, I've been doing online webinars for pregnant, expecting women, to teach you more about your pelvic floor and help you know how to stay proactive and be on top of things. Two, I would say there are lots of therapists out there that have taken their clinic online. So you can absolutely set up an online appointment with a therapist in your community. Reach out to them and see if that's something that they're offering. And three, take a look at my free guide that I have in my bio called the Push Plan Guide. It'll teach you a lot about what you can start during pregnancy.